All right, we are go for lunch.
Good evening and welcome to the September 11th, 2024 meeting of the Henrietta Town Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Here.
Councilmember Belanca,
Here.
Councilmember Barley,
Here.
Councilmember Stafford,
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here. So we'll begin the meeting with a moment of silence in memory and recognition of all those who lost their lives on this date in 2001 at the World Trade Center, Pentagon, and Farm Field in Pennsylvania, as well as all of the firefighters, first responders, military, and civilians who lost their lives as a result of that heinous attack and tragic day. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the town board minutes of the August 21st, 2024 meeting.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. First up, we have a public hearing for a proposed local law to amend the provisions of the tax exemption for volunteer firefighter and ambulance personnel. Excuse me, the state has changed some of the code with regards to how these exemptions are being handled, and so the town is essentially switching to the new code as well as increasing to the newly available maximums. Any questions, comments? Anyone wish to provide feedback? And hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed local law. Next up, I have a public hearing for a proposed local law to amend the Henrietta Town Code relating to the alternative veterans exemption to increase the benefit. Again, same thing, the rules have changed. We're adopting to the new code, the new laws, as well as increasing to the new maximums. Why they call them alternative veterans, your guess is as good as mine. Typically, it's pretty much people who were covered in any of the non-expressly named wars. But alternative is just a strange name to me for veterans, alternative veterans, I don't know. Anyway, anyone wish to provide any feedback on this local law? And hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed local law. Finally, I have a public hearing for a proposed local law to amend the Henrietta Town Code relating to the Cold War veterans exemption to increase the benefit. Again, same story as the previous two. Anyone wish to provide it feedback for Cold War veterans? Hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. All of the town board is going to go that fast, right?
Yeah.
Next up, I have a public hearing for a special use permit application number 2024-029, BW Solar Holding. It's 175 Tobin Road to construct and operate a 4.4 megawatt AC solar energy system. Do we have a representative either here or online? Come on up.
How's it going? Dan
Good.
Huntington with BW Solar.
Could you talk a little about what you're looking to do and introduce the project?
So we introduced the project at the last town board meeting for the public hearing. We're looking to build a 4.4 megawatt AC solar facility. It's roughly 1,500 feet away from the road as the crow flies. Closest residential facility is about 700 feet away to the west. The only other residential home that has a visual line of sight to it is about 900 feet to the east. As I mentioned, 4.4 megawatts. It's under the 25 acre limit by the town, under the 25% limit as well. To date, we've already been through a public hearing and started the seeker process. The board took the lead agency on that. Last week, we went through the conservation board, heard their comments and agreed with a lot of their assessment in terms of incorporating some pollinator friendly cover crops underneath the panels. We also reviewed what the tree requirements would be in terms of a tree bank. And we are prepared at this time to make a contribution for roughly 151 trees to the tree bank as part of our application.
Very good.
What's that?
Very good.
Yes, we talked through that. We did have roughly 83 trees on the internal portion of the project that we identified as being larger than 6 inches that would need to be cleared in order to accommodate the operation. Most of the trees, actually all of those 83 trees are on the center of the property and not the border of the property. So it doesn't impact any of the natural visual screening that we have for the project. But with that and the town code replacing 2 to 1, the way we got to 151 is, 83 times 2 was 166. We're planting 15 trees in coordination with the guidance from the conservation board and some requests from the landowner. They did ask for some specific trees that they felt would make their property look a little bit better. Those trees are located on the road frontage as part of the screening for the interconnection. So we defer to the conservation board for their request for a mix of trees. So it's not a monoculture. God forbid you have something like the ash beetle and then all the trees are killed.
Right.
We just want to make sure there's a mix and it looks healthy. The landowners also requested a couple trees that they have wanted on their property for a while as well. So with those 15 trees, it brings us down to the 151 mark. Spoke with the code officer and we're planning on incorporating that as a condition to the building permit. Outside of that, I think we've incorporated just about everything we can to date. And we do plan on working later on with the town as part of our conditional approval for decommissioning the ag easement and then making sure we have the tree bank contribution outlined in an agreement as well.
Great. I'm just checking to make sure that's the seeker. I just want to make sure we have the right number in the approval resolution. Because I know there was some discussion as to what it looks like we don't, so. Who's putting that one forth? So when we put forth the resolution for the approve, deny, we should add the correct number for the trees here.
Okay.
Searched again, I can't seem to find like we just talked about having to replace them, so. So for the approval, you're not planning to be over the 24.84 acres for the inside the perimeter fence? Okay. And so then basically what we did is the easement then has a minimum of 74.52 acres. For the easement, for the conservation easement. 'Cause
Okay,
it has to be 3x that.
so is that something that has to be finalized today, or is
No,
that
no, no,
a
no, no.
condition of the?
That's a condition of the approval. So of the special use permit. So basically, I've already been talking with the landowner. He was asking this question because he didn't want to conserve the whole entire rest of the property because he wants to carve out a 5 acre lot. I think it was so his daughter, so one of his family members could live on the farm as well. And so the requirement, if you read the code, it's basically whatever land you're counting at using for this, 75% has to be, up to 25% can be solar, and then there has to be 75% or essentially 3-to-1 matching for an agricultural easement. So he's the one he's going to have to take care of that as the family owner. Now, obviously, since it's a condition on your thing, your guys are going to want to help make sure that happens. But I think we'd already sent you guys the sample. Boy, no, I think we sent you the sample pilot. I'm not sure if we've sent the sample agricultural easement, but
Yeah, I've been in close coordination with the landowner,
Yeah.
reached out to Chris, the code officer, the other day. And I think, as part of the approval, what we would ask is that it's conditional of that agreement being in place.
correct.
Um,
That's the way it says.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as long as I can request that the specific acreage is not included in the condition at this time.
It's not. It just says there has to be a minimum, it has to be a
Perfect.
minimum of 74.52 acres. Same thing with the,
So
same,
that's,
so the array has a maximum of 24.84 acres. It doesn't say which ones, but on
Okay.
the plan, that's the maximum size. And then on there's a minimum for the agricultural easement. So again, he can carve out, typically everyone carves out an acre around their house so they could, add a room to their house if they wanted, right?
Mhm.
He wants to add, so he has about between 7 and 8, or maybe it's even 17. I can't remember the size of his entire property, but it was over 100 acres,
it's 113 and change.
113. So he's got about 14 acres extra. The minimum lot size in the rural residential is 5 acres. So he's going to carve out a 5 acre lot for a future, whether he subdivides it now, it doesn't matter. He just wants to preserve that, because if you put an agricultural easement there, you couldn't build a house. So he came in and met with me separately to better understand how this process works. So basically, he's going to draw out the, 70, well, let's just round up to 75 acres. He's going to draw out a 75 acre easement and essentially assign that to the town for agricultural. And again, an agricultural conservation means it can be used for any agricultural use or left wild. Those are your two options. But that does mean if you have a dairy farm, they could build an additional barn for the cows. They could put up a silo. They could have a garage, as long as the garage is for tractors and farm equipment. It can't house, passenger vehicles. But again, that's more him than you.
Mhm.
But like I said, so that's the plan. And then basically what would happen is the area within the fence, that will be either parceled out or what I'll call sub-parceled out. So one is you actually file a subdivision and separate it. The other one is you send that area to the county, and in the county GIS, they map it out and they give it a sub designation. So for instance, that's how our over here in the DPW lot, there is a cell tower. It's part of this parcel, but it's a sub parcel. And so it has the same parcel ID /TWR, meaning tower. So I don't know if they're going to do /SOL for solar, which is, yes, a funny acronym, but like I said, I don't know how they'll do that, but those are the two options.
Yep, and we're fully aware of all those. We've operated in that scenario. Every county does it slightly different.
Right.
My request for the board tonight, I was under the understanding that the terms of the actual ag easement would be negotiated as part of a condition for the building permit. And I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear.
I'm
on
not sure what
everything.
you mean by the terms of,
So, based on my conversation with the code officer, I was under the impression that the language specifically defining what the easement would be was part of a conversation that would happen as a condition for the building permit to be issued. My only question is, you had mentioned that as part of the approval, there will be language saying it's a minimum of. And our only concern is how that is being actually calculated. So
it's 3 times the size, maximum size of your array.
in theory, yes, but the law specifically states 75%. If it is offsite, it is listed as 4-to-1.
Correct.
And so I understand the intention, but in our coordination with our legal team to support him, we made them available to him. The concern being is we don't want to circumvent the intention of the law, but for whatever acreage is remaining for the landowner, an acre to 5 acres is a pretty significant difference when you're going from 113 acres of usable land to how you see fit, to carving out 25 for solar and then taking another 75 and
So just to
quantifying.
be clear, without that, this does not happen because this is part of our land protection plan.
And I'm not saying
So-
that we're not
so-
doing. I'm not
And
saying
you
we're
don't
not
get to
doing-
negotiate the terms of, depending on what you mean by terms, like it is required that it be an agricultural easement and it be assigned to the town and it be 3 times the amount of acreage that's in the array. And it has to be on part of the farm. The key that you're missing, the 75% comes from when he puts in this application. And again, we allow some of it, the actual final acreage to be done as part of the site plan and everything else. Because this kind of approval is before site plan approval. But during that site plan, he gets to designate what the farm area is. It doesn't have to be the whole parcel. It could be multiple parcels, right? The first one we did, the farm consisted of like 4 different parcels. They had already sub-parceled out their house and they had 2 or 3 parcels that comprised the farm. And so when he describes the farm, if you're building a 24.84 acre solar array, the minimum farm size it can be is 4 times that size. So again, if we round it up to 25 acres, that means 100 acres have to comprise the array plus the part, it has to comprise the farm, which is 25% is the array, 75% is protected under the agricultural easement. So I'm not clear what you're arguing here, but that's.
Dan, are you worried about the math working out because of the extra 5 acres?
No, I'm purely speaking on behalf of the landowner. I was not aware that we were going to have a minimum in the language for the approval. I told him he should join via Zoom, that we were predominantly focusing on the seeker negative declaration. Had I known that, I would have had him here. Again, to the supervisor's point, it's not something that I can sign off for him. And my only concern is the definition of farmable acreage. And again, I can't.
Again,
Say
you
yes or no.
don't have to. This is what we're putting in the special use permit. It doesn't mean you have to build it. If he's not okay with it, he'll say, sorry, we're not going to build this. So if your fear is you're saying, I'm going to okay it, you don't have to do that. That's up to him. Because you still have a ways to go. This is just step 1. So there are two separate resolutions here. The first is to complete seeker. The second is to issue a special use permit. Now, we don't have to issue that today, but I don't know why you wouldn't with those minimums. If those don't work for him, you can come back and argue, but I'm going to tell you, if you're building a 24.84, there is no choice other than to have the 70.
Call it 75.
Call it 75 acre minimum agricultural easement. That it's not negotiable. That's the rules. Again, if it was offsite, you're right. It would have to be 100 acres of agricultural easement. So this is on site. He's going to have to pick 75 acres of which he designates. the reason he didn't want to, he came in and met with me and we went through this and I went through all the law with him. He fully understands this. At least he indicated that at that meeting. And again, what he's going to do, the reason he was asking this question, because he already understood that you carve out an acre around the farmhouse for his purposes, but he said, I want to put in an additional parcel for, again, I think it was his daughter. The 5 acres for that has to do with the zone he's in. He's in the rural residential, the minimum lot size is 5 acres. So now, again, if I start at that, what did you say it was, 114? So now.
Yeah, 113.
113, so now he's down to 107. He still has room to spare because he subtract the 1 acre for his house or more. He can do whatever he wants. 5 acres for that additional parcels. He's still got 107. He can pick another 7 acres to say, I don't want that to be part of the agricultural easement. And maybe he's got 2 kids and he wants to preserve 2 lots, whatever he wants to do. That's up to him. That has to be done for later on as part of the site plan. And he has to, again, before you'll be able to get your building permit, that is going to have to be in place. But in terms of the size of it, that's a condition on the special use permit. That's the way we've always done it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would say that since he's not here, I mean, if he is online and can chime in, my gut reaction is, since I can't speak for him, it is his land. My request for the town would be to address the seeker portion, since we are at the 30-day mark, and potentially table the special use.
What do you gain by doing that?
It's just land I can't speak for. I can't say.
I'm not asking you to speak for it. I'm telling you, this is the minimum requirement to do this project. If you don't accept it, you can't do the project, and you might as well not even do the seeker because we're not moving forward. So this is setting the parameters upon which you can do this. Without it, it can't happen. This is not a commitment that it has to happen. If he gets a special use permit and does nothing with it, it expires and goes away. So we're not committing him to anything. All we're saying is, if you're going to move forward, these are the parameters under which you have to move forward. So you're not committing to him to anything.
I understand that.
Okay.
But with that language being in the special use permit, I am saying that we agree with the town's assessment of that acreage. Again, I'm not disputing that your calculation is wrong. But there is ambiguity in the town law as to
Then we're not doing this. We're not going to approve it. If you think there's ambiguity and you want to see something different, we're not going to approve it. Whatever. Okay. I don't know why you're fighting us on this, but that's your choice. Okay.
Again, I'm not.
That's okay. Does anybody wish to make any public comment?
Are you nervous about a conversation happening with the owner without you being there?
No, he filled me in on that on
Okay.
multiple occasions. And, his sentiment was, what qualifies the agricultural qualification of the land? Are you taking 100 acres, carving out 25%, and the remaining, 75 goes into the ag exemption? Okay, last conversation we had, use the wetlands. Well, maybe the wetlands don't qualify anymore. So it's simply a matter of trying to better understand. We're not saying we're not going to accommodate it. We just need to understand it a little bit better. And by we, I mean the landowner, because if I go and say, yes, we'll do this, and you guys approve it, and then he's on the call and tomorrow says, why did you tell them I would give them 75 acres? I would have the same answer you have. It is a condition of the approval. I don't have an option, but he could turn around and say, I want to challenge the qualification of what is an approved acre. I don't know. That's my only argument, is I don't have him here to say, yes, okay, that makes sense to me. Because the conversations I had with him is he was questioning whether or not certain acres qualify and others don't. And so I'm not arguing that we're not going to meet the requirement of the town. I just can't speak for him. And that's the only piece that I'm kicking myself for not telling him to come. I thought that was something that would be finalized prior to a building permit, kind of like decommissioning or having the tree bank contribution in place in order for a building permit to qualify. So again, I just want to make it crystal clear. We've met every requirement of the town. We intend to do so in order to make a viable project. I just can't speak for him saying that he will agree to 75 acres, and he has the legal right to challenge the qualification of language in a law. He is a resident, and that's all I'm saying. If
So
I
you-
could
But
convince
we
him to
also
say
have the
yes,
right to say, this is how it's gonna be, or we're not gonna approve it.
I'm not saying you don't.
Right.
I completely agree with you. I'm not saying you don't have that authority.
So you want us to move on from this? You can go call the owner and we can come back to you later?
I don't know why we can't approve it with a conditional approval of the owner's agreement.
Well, again, you don't need the owner's agreement because all he has to do is not move forward. This is my point. If he doesn't like it, he can not move forward on it. Or he can come in and say, I'd like to modify the special use permit. This is what's baffling to me. I don't understand what right he loses. Am I missing something, Dan? Is there some right he loses by us approving it now? He can always challenge it after the fact.
If that's true, then I just didn't realize that was an option. I thought once it's a condition of the approval, we had to meet that bar.
You do unless it's modified.
Okay, and then that's
That's
perfectly
correct.
fine.
Right.
That's correct. He can petition the board for a modification if he so chose.
But that's a perfectly reasonable option.
That's where my confusion's coming from.
Okay, I
You
didn't
could-
realize that was availed to
Yes,
him
Yes,
after a decision.
that's what I'm
was
saying.
made.
It's not permanent. Once you start building on it, it becomes
Oh,
permanent.
for sure.
But until you take action, it's just an approval.
Okay, as
And you
long
can
as
come
he
back
had the,
and-
he
you can
has the
come back and
recourse.
modify the approval. We've had that discussion as far as what land, and my suggestion to him was, right now, it is not designated wetlands. Until you guys do the delineation, it is not designated wetlands.
Yes,
So we'll work with him. He can do all that stuff. I suspect once you guys do your delineations, there will be some wetlands in there, but that's not how our code reads as to future wetlands. It talks about what is currently designated wetlands. So
and that's totally fair, as long as he has some type of,
I've had this discussion
Recourse.
with him.
perfect.
I met with him for probably an hour and a half going over all these details with him. So,
Perfect. As long as he has that option, I'm happy to
okay,
work through whatever the parameters are, because as you know, I want the project to be built and I want to
Right.
meet the town's requirements.
okay, beautiful. I will ask again, is there anybody who wishes to comment on this application? This is one that has remarkably few neighbors. So most comments are NIMBY related, so are you neighbors? How do you feel about it? Hold on a second.
Oop, you got it.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Mark Gehring. Actually, I took a drone up and looked at it and couldn't find it. So it's 2 fields behind me, and I don't know who you were talking east and west, but I think we might be the closest to see it from the.
You're
from-
the west, you have a home that there's a little
On the hill.
hill, yeah.
Hill right
Yeah.
next to him. Yeah, so anyhow, no, I can't see it. It's not even like the one that's adjacent to me that's also going in. Yeah, I don't think we'll see it. I
Okay.
said that on the last one and one of the other neighbors jumped down my throat, so.
Oh.
I just want to make sure that I'm saying I'm the only one I know of. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, there's. no
Great,
one cares.
that's
And
good.
he's using an existing,
Access road?
agricultural access road.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so, nothing. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate that. I'm just,
So I saw in the plans, you guys are planning on coming back to the property and maybe mowing every twice a year maybe or something like that?
Yeah, we typically use a low maintenance seeding. We'll probably be using some type of flowering seed based on the conservation board's request, which actually will use less mowing typically.
Okay,
But the main purpose for the mowing is to keep a border around the outside of the fence. And also in between the fence and the panel is about 15 feet. We want to keep that mowed as well. For, any type of access that's needed for maintenance. These are trackers, so we will have to maintain the mechanisms that are used for the tracking.
okay.
But once it's built, typically it's very low maintenance. Usually within the first year to 2 years, we're doing monthly checkups. After that, it drops down to quarterly.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Any other questions?
Save mine for the.
Next one, I'll say.
That, what do you mean for the next one? There's two resolutions
The next
under,
resolution, yeah.
well, this is the public hearing right now. We're not
Okay, I
even
thought
at
we
either
would be,
resolution.
okay, how much, in the next resolution, it talks about the decommission, you know, did we set something when we did that first one? Didn't we set some kind of bar for
How many years?
how much it was gonna be and I'm just wondering about
It-
that.
It needs to be calculated based off of the size. But basically, we have one of two ways. You can either do a bond that calculates essentially going forward, or you can choose more like a escrow type account where essentially the interest covers you going forward. So there's a couple different approaches. Sorry, I had to change my password earlier today, so it's asking me to approve stuff. So basically, what happens is that's one of the conditions of the approval, is that they have to have a bond in sufficient dollar amount.
Okay, I just wanna make it,
So what happens is they basically put together an estimate of how much it's gonna cost. Our team reviews it and says, yeah, that's reasonable, or no, that needs to be increased.
thank you.
Yep. And like I said, it either there's an escalation that we say, okay, this is how much it's gonna cost at the end. Or, you know, they can start here, they can keep upping it, or they can do a dollar amount and the interest will essentially cover the escalation. There's different approaches that we allow, but just as long as it's covered for de-escalation, because when people talk about, oh, solar panels rotting in the field, when they're an active system, they're not leaking, they're not rotting, because they'll get a notice that their electrical yields down and they'll go out and replace the defective panel. The only time it's a problem is if they're left rotting, and so that's why Councilman Stafford's bringing this up, because if you, as long as we have the funds, that if they go out of business, we can then yank them out of there before they start to cause issues. We're covered, so.
Okay.
But yeah, that's part of again, they can't, until they have all that stuff in place, they can't start putting their array in.
Thank you.
And we did submit a decommissioning plan that was engineer stamped by Tetra Tech as part of our application that details all of that. And what we would do is go in and sign an agreement with you as the town board prior to a building permit, make sure you guys sign off on everything.
It's not us as a town board, but yes, it's with the town.
Okay. A lot of times the town board's the fiduciary for towns and you meet with the planning board, but the town board has to sign it.
Yeah.
But yes, we have submitted that already for your review and we would update that and
I must have missed it.
It might be in the.
Okay.
it's in the big packet that's like
Oh, yeah.
300 and
Okay,
something pages.
missed that one.
Yeah.
So then the other question I had, how many projects have you done in New York?
So active projects I have right now are 10.
10.
We recently partnered with another company called Catalyze, in which they are building those projects right now. And they're actively building 5 other projects, 2 in Genesee County, 1 in Montgomery County, 1 in Oneida County, and 2 in Ontario County.
Okay. And then and I'm not sure, don't have any proof of this, but is it true that any project over 1 megawatt has to be prevailing wage?
Yes, so there was a new rule that was passed, I believe in May or June of last year, where any project had to be a prevailing wage job, and then NYSERDA, the governing body that oversees all of these, does provide a prevailing wage adder to account for that increased cost. So most projects like mine would apply through NYSERDA for that incentive. It's a tax-based incentive. So it does come from taxpayers, but it's to help alleviate the new regulations saying that they have to be prevailing wage.
Okay.
Mike, in the SUP folder, it was broken out separately. You'll see special permit 29 decommissioning plan. Let's say 24, 29. It's in the SUP info folder. So it's not, they broke it out separate when they put it in the folder.
Okay.
You see it? If not, I can bring it up for you.
He's not gonna read it now.
But yeah, like as he mentioned, when these come in, they have to be done by a independent party. And then, like I said, our team reviews it and says, yeah, this is good. Or oh, this is deficient.
So if it's, I'm not gonna go, can't do
Yeah.
the whole thing, but okay, yes.
Other questions?
Nope.
Okay, anything online? Take that as a no. And hearing and seeing no further comments, I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2024-029 BW Solar Holding Incorporated.
Okay. On that, Mr. Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have resolution 18-262, 2024 to accept the seeker determination and issue a negative declaration for the proposed large-scale solar project, for NYCDG Monroe 3 LLC located at 175 Tobin Road.
Seconded.
Any further comments? So the conditions are on the special use permit, not on the seeker. Anything found in the seeker, if there's a potential adverse impact, which I don't remember there being any, the mitigation then becomes part of the conditions. But the only potential adverse impacts are, you know, essentially mitigated by having a decommissioning plan. That's the big one. All right. Hearing and seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-263, 2024 to approve the special use permit application number 2024-029 for a proposed large-scale solar project for NYCDG Monroe 3 LLC, known as BW Solar Holdings, Inc., located at 175 Tobin Road.
Second. I'm sorry, I'm typing up the additional condition. So I'll open up the discussion by saying we will add we'll record the 151 and add that as the condition to the approval. Very good. And we appreciate you doing that because our parks were devastated by the emerald ash borer, so. We have been working on restoring those, but only have so much money per year to do. So an injection of 151 trees will help tremendously. In addition, we're building in Educators Grove and Hoskins Park and want some tree lined trails in there. So that'll help in that area too. So
Well, thank you, Dan.
put it to
Thank
much
you.
good use. So I guess what I will do is I make a motion that we amend the resolution to add condition 23, due to trees removed, 151 trees will be donated to the town's tree bank.
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? Becky, I'll let you pick which of those two got in first.
I know I was first, Becky.
He was first.
Hearing no,
I concur with that.
okay, hearing no further discussion, please call the roll on the amendment.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So now we are voting on the resolution as amended. There are now 23, normally I read all the conditions. Hopefully you read them in advance. I don't know that I have the wherewithal to read all 23.
I actually don't think I got them in advance.
Did you? Oh, they're on, So you need to sign up to get your notices from the town.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just go through them really quickly. Again, that the maximum, rather than read them, I'll just summarize them.
Sure.
Maximum size is 24.84 acres. Solar panels will be installed only by driving or augering, so no concrete.
Correct.
Again,
Yep.
these are all things
Pounded posts. Yep.
you're fully aware of. I'm pretty sure. They'll be installed at a height no greater than 20 feet. Excuse me, at a height sufficient to allow wildlife to pass underneath, but it can't be like over 20 feet. And that's like the pole. That doesn't mean if it's tilted in the corner or sticking up high. I don't know how high they get, but we just don't want them sky high. Nitrogen fixers and or pollinators will be planted under the panels. 5, damaged or defective panels will be replaced or removed to prevent leaching. 6, decommissioning plan, final decommissioning plan and bond or escrow account shall be provided in accordance with town code prior to issuance of a building permit. 7, an NOI must be filed with the Department of Ag and Markets. 8, will be built in compliance with Ag and Markets guidelines for solar energy projects. 9, the agricultural easement comprising a minimum of 74.52 acres. 10, site plan approval must be obtained from the planning board. 11, equipment specification sheets shall be provided for the panels, components, mounting systems, and inverters. 12, a landscaping screening plan for review and approval by the planning board. And that includes vegetative screening. Vegetative buffers have to be preserved, save for the removal of dead or dying trees. And to the extent any value old growth are proposed to be removed, they should only be removed in accordance with an approved tree clearing plan. 13, insurance policy providing coverage for liability will be required. 14, enclosure by fencing to prevent unauthorized access is required. 15, a draft operation and maintenance plan. I'm sorry, a final plan will be provided in accordance and approved by the Director of Engineering and Planning. 16, information regarding lease and any other easements or agreements shall be provided to the town. 17, all state and federal wetlands will be protected and undisturbed. 18, sufficient construction access to the parcel is provided as approved by the planning board. 19, permanent access, same thing, approved as part of the plan. 20, grading shall be performed in a manner that keeps grade changes to a minimum. Any proposed grade changes of greater than 3 feet over the current grades must be approved by the Director of Engineering and Planning. 21, a pilot shall be executed in a form acceptable and approved by the town board. 22, the review and acceptance of all items listed above by the Director of Engineering and Planning, and then 23, the trees we just talked about. So those are all the conditions. You didn't hear any of those that conflicted with your understanding of what? Yep.
Not at all.
Like I said, we've kind of gone over these. We just didn't have them all spelled out.
Sure.
Other than, and I will point you to, if you want, where you can sign up to get emails when the stuff hits the agenda.
Yeah, I was looking for the agenda yesterday and the
Yeah.
landowner sent me a picture of it and I was like, I don't know why I didn't get it, but I
Yeah.
will sign up for those.
Yeah, so actually, if you go to henrietta.org/subscribe, one of those you can get is, meeting notices and agendas, so.
Perfect.
And that will also get you when they're up for the planning board, you'll get the planning board agenda as well, so,
Perfect.
okay? Any further discussions?
No, sir.
Any further comments from the public? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Sorry about the frustration. It was,
No worries.
there was that disconnect. I didn't realize, you didn't realize that he could always petition to change it.
Sure.
if he
And I was
wanted
just
to.
nervous if I committed him to
Right.
something.
No.
And
that's
I
fine.
met up with him again at his dinner table and I was like, what did you do? You know, I'd be
He's a
in
nice
trouble,
guy.
so,
He wouldn't,
you know,
yep. You might have to work the farm a little.
yeah, a little, yeah, for sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. I just want to commend you and your staff on the expedited process you guys go through. A lot of coordination between boards. Probably some of the best I've seen in a long time. So
Thank you.
thank you for your time
Thank
and
you.
I look forward to working with you.
Sounds good. Next up, we have public hearing for special use permit application number 2024-030, Idols Dance Company, 200 Town Center Drive to operate a dance studio. Come on up. Introduce yourself and describe the project.
I'm April Chacha, and we're moving the studio from Pittsford to Henrietta to
Welcome.
have more space.
Could be in a better town.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Are you from Pittsburgh?
I'm actually not from
Okay.
Pittsford, no. But I'm really excited about this. This is going to be our 16th season, so it's not a new business. It's just a move. And we're underway with construction and it's supposed to open in a couple weeks. I'm really excited. So
Now, is that always your last name or did you change it because you were
No,
running a dance studio?
I married into that, but
Married into that.
I kept.
Did you
the
say,
name.
I wanted to run a dance studio, so I married a guy named Cha-Cha?
No, isn't that ironic though? Yeah. I kept the name and lost the husband, so
Oh.
I kept the good part.
There you go. That is now on the public record. Congratulations.
That's okay.
So, yeah, I just, when I saw that, I thought, oh my God, that's perfect.
Yeah,
It's almost like you're fated to do
not
this.
spelled that way, but yes,
Right.
very perfect.
All right. And what do you typically, dance do you typically teach?
Ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical. We do a little bit of tumbling. We do some adult fitness classes too. So we deal with mostly children, but every once in a while we'll throw an adult class in there, which is
Gotcha.
fun for the moms.
I don't really have any more questions. This one's pretty straightforward.
Number of employees?
I have 12.
How long you been running the studio?
This will be year 16.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then if you're interested in doing some kind of ribbon cutting, if you want to reach out to me, supervisor@henrietta.org.
Okay,
And I can, the Chamber of Commerce has ribbons and the big scissors and all that stuff.
I would
And,
love that. Thank
yeah.
you.
so,
Okay.
any other comments, any questions from the public or comments from the public? Then hearing and seeing none, I am going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2024-030, Idols Dance Company. Someone wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I move that we approve special use permit application number 2024-030, Idols Dance Company, 200 Town Center Drive to operate a dance studio.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Congratulations, and we
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you open. And like I said, if you send me an email, we'll get the ribbon cutting team there for you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
As long as I don't have to dance, because white guys can't dance. No, I am that guy.
Need to get him in class.
No, we tried that for my wedding. I think they told me never come back.
Oh, Lord.
Next up, we have public hearing for special use permit application number 2024-031, Fisher Auto Parts, 80 Commerce Drive, to offer limited retail sales with an auto parts warehouse and distribution facility.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Michael Trojan. I'm representing the ownership of the building, which is owned by Konar Enterprises. I brought Dan Richardson, our property manager, And online, we have three members from Fisher Auto Parts, Matt, Shane, and Brandon. Looking at the screen, maybe they'll pop up. A quick summary about the building. It was built by Mr. William Konar for the original for this drugstore business in the late sixties. It's 84,000 square feet. It's a multi-tenanted building that houses the County of Monroe, Island Fit, and DeBella Subs, with a few other ones as well. On the east side of the building, there are loading docks that are shared by all the tenants. We previously, for the last 18 years, had the competitor of Fisher Auto Parts in this location. And they were doing the exact same business that Fisher is looking to do. It's an auto parts distributor. So if one of the auto shops in the area needs an alternator, they'll call them up and they'll deliver the alternator. There's a small section of their business, which is less than 5, that would allow for somebody to come up, a member of the public, to come up to the counter and buy the alternator themselves. It's not a store. It's not like a retail store where there's aisles walking around. It's just counter service, if you will. And the hours of operations are Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5, and Saturdays from 8 to 12. They're closed on Sundays.
Was the old business there so long that they'd never gotten I'm just curious why the
I'd like to plead
previous,
the fifth. No, I'm kidding.
no, I'm wondering
No,
why
I don't-
the
I don't
previous special
know.
use permit.
Yes, I don't know. That's why I'm jokingly saying plead the fifth. I don't know.
Oh,
We opened it up 18
gotcha.
years ago and it was very successful, had no issues with the
Right.
town, anything. And then when we were doing this, the legal folks from Fisher Auto Parts looked at the town code and said, we need a special use permit.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? And I
So-
was talking with Tracy. She said, maybe things have changed because it was again 18 years ago.
Right.
I was involved back then as well. So I'm not sure, sir, how that happened.
Yeah,
And if it was there, I apologize.
no, right. Well, no, I mean, it doesn't hurt getting another one. I was just
Right,
curious.
I
Right.
don't know how it happened.
Yeah, that's funny. It's distinctly possible that the use changed because that happens. They shift stuff around and,
Yes.
but, okay, I was just curious if
Yes.
it's
and
the exact same business, but.
Right. The reason I bring it up is just to show that it was successfully run there. There
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
any problems. There was no neighbors issues. It's Commerce Drive. It's
Yeah.
mostly, it's all industrial. so
Yeah, in fact,
it's-
I've been talking for some time about that. I would like to, right now, we just have one industrial district. I'd
Right.
love to create like I-1 and I-2
Okay,
where Commerce and maybe Jarley, there's a couple areas that are what I'll call heavier industrial. And it's not even it's not heavy industrial like a smelting plant, but my point is it has to do with more the frontage, so like there's some large sections of industrial on Jefferson Road, but from a frontage standpoint, it needs to look commercial.
right.
On Commerce Drive, it can look industrial, or nobody drives, it's.
Yeah, there's no pylon sign. It's a
Right.
glass door to glass window and
Exactly.
they'll apply for a building sign.
Yeah.
But it's not like AutoZone by any
Right.
means.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is industrial, not commercial or retail. Yeah.
Making
Sounds
sure.
good. I don't have any further questions. Does anyone else?
Couple.
Go ahead.
You mentioned counter service I thought you said less than 5. I didn't
Less than
catch-
5%.
Oh, less than 5%.
The
Okay.
main business
That-
is shipping, distributing the auto parts. Less than 5% of
Okay.
their actual business will be walk-ins.
Okay, I didn't hear the percent.
I-
Well, that's probably more for I'll call them the hobbyist who.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
gearhead.
the guy who has their own garage.
Right.
So are these used auto parts?
No,
Or
they're
all
new-
new?
new auto
Oh,
parts.
All new. Okay. And so there's not going to be any outside storage
No, sir.
of any vehicles. Okay.
So I
Thank you.
mean, if you think about it, sort of like that's how Granger largely is, right? Most retail people do not go to Granger.
Correct.
Other businesses do, but if you're a hobbyist and you know Granger, you go get your parts from them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or if some repair guy tells me, go to Granger, they have it,
That's
you
right.
go there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I'm good.
thank you.
Any others? Anybody from the public wish to comment? Then hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2024-031 Fisher Auto Parts.
Supervisor Schultz. I'd like to move to approve special use permit application 024-131 Fisher Auto Parts, 80 Commerce Drive, to offer limited retail sales within the auto parts warehouse and distribution facility.
Second.
I'll note that that's 031. I couldn't tell if.
031.
Yep.
I think I said 131.
I think so, yeah.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. And I'll make the same offer. They're listening online. If they want to contact me, we can put them in touch with the Chamber of Commerce to do a grand opening. And that includes if we want to get the news out to the press, we can do that as well.
Thank you
So,
very much.
Yep.
I appreciate it. I'll make sure they know. And again, thank you all for what you do at the town.
Right, Mike.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thanks.
evening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a public hearing for pros establishment of extension number 14 to the Henrietta Lighting District, Rivers Edge subdivision. So basically, this is an approved subdivision, previously approved. They are putting in street lights. So if there's only, we put lights over the intersections of side streets where they meet main roads. But if they're gonna put street lights down the streets, those electricity costs, those utility costs get charged back to the people who live in the neighborhood rather than everybody in town picking those costs up. The ones that are on the main streets, those are part of our consolidated fund, and those do get picked up by everybody. But the ones that are in neighborhoods get charged out to the neighborhoods through a lighting district extension. So that's what we're doing here. Is there anybody who has any? These are pretty much pro forma, but in case somebody has some comments on it, we've got a public hearing. And hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the pros establishment of extension number 14 to the Henrietta Lighting District. Next up, we have a public hearing for the proposed establishment of extension number 25 to the Henrietta Drainage District, Rivers Edge subdivision. This one's similar but slightly different. I'm not clear why there isn't a drainage district covering the whole town. I guess until they actually start to develop the land, it doesn't become part of the drainage district. In this case, since all the stuff ends up essentially the same place, what happens is all the drainage costs gets distributed across all the districts. Now, there are certain weights and other ways that that's calculated on a per unit basis, but basically by adding this extension, they're now part of the Henrietta Drainage District and they will get the drainage district charges. If you look at your tax bills that you get in January, you'll see a line in there for the drainage district. Typically, I don't remember the exact dollar amounts, but you're talking like maybe, I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. Right. It's, $20, $30, that kind of range. So that's what this one does, is it adds them so that all the homes within this area, and this is the same thing happens with businesses as well. But basically they come in and they're part of that charge. What?
I'll tell you later.
Okay. Any further discussion? Then hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed establishment of extension number 25 to the Henrietta Drainage District. And that completes our public hearings. Can we get our next resolution?
It's yours.
Oh, it's mine. Look at that. You're not supposed to do that. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-264, 2024 to approve and or ratify the following agreements.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-265, 2024, to authorize bills payable and any associated contracts or agreements for August 27, 2024 through today, September 11th, 2024.
Seconded.
Linda, the exhibit A, the main bills payable. I assume a lot of that is court construction. Is there something else large in there as well?
Yes, there's about 300
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out. Where, do you know?
Yes,
Oh,
my back,
Yeah, now we can hear you.
there's about 350,000 in core construction and just shy of 400,000 in the sewer work that we are doing.
Oh, that's right. Yep, yep. Got it. Okay, it just was a higher than normal number, so I figured it must be something like that. Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-266, 2024, to declare intent to be lead agency for a coordinated seeker review and call for a public hearing for a large-scale solar project proposed for the Rockow Equestrian Center located at 534 Brooks Road.
Second.
Any discussion? So this is just calling for the public hearing. We're gonna do the same thing that we did with the one we just finished, where we will have a public hearing before the seeker 30 days is up. That way we can get feedback from neighbors and other interested parties and identify any potential adverse impacts and have them then mitigate that and come back to us 3 weeks later with an updated plan to say how they're going to mitigate it. And that way we can roll that into our seeker analysis as well as conditions on our special use permit. Any further questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-267, 2024 to authorize the extension of special use permit number 2023-037 to establish a Skyworks equipment rental and sales facility at 65 Middle Road.
Second.
Any discussion?
And this is just a 6 month
Just 6 months.
just 6 months extension.
Yeah, they might have been able to get started. They're getting close, but they just wanted to play it safe because you don't want to let it expire. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, resolution 18-268, 2024 to reapprove the special use permit application 2024-028 for Chipotle Mexican Grill by Kerry Ventures West Henrietta LLC for a new restaurant at 4775 West Henrietta Road.
Second, so I'll note this, we're doing this because there was essentially an error on our part. They had checked the box for sale of alcohol, but our resolution didn't include that. And so we talked about it, we discussed it at the hearing, but the resolution itself didn't say it. So this is just fixing that resolution so that it includes the sale of alcohol. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-269, 2024 to authorize the purchase of roughly 1,511 square feet of land and associated sanitary easement from Jeffrey Schuster to install a pump station for phase 2 of Lehigh Station Sanitary Sewer Project. And I will note that I will be reading a modification to what was published in the agenda as we got the final costs in.
Second.
So the estimated, it talks about that the estimated closing costs are not to exceed $15,000. That's actually correct. I just want to make a change so that there's no confusion. So I'm going to I'm proposing that with the following final whereas statement that says, whereas the town's purchase offer has been accepted, contingent upon town board approval, a subdivision map and easement map have been created, and the sales process is moving towards closing with an estimated closing cost and other costs not to exceed $25,000. So, and that's actually high, but we just learned that there are some new filing fees changes. Some of these legal costs have changed, so we don't know until we submit them, we won't know the exact amount. So I'd rather err on the high side than low. But there were, in addition to the roughly, it was about $14,000 in closing costs. There were some outside of closing costs, such as surveyor, some stuff we had to deal with the mortgage holder of the property. And again, the purpose of this is we've been putting in a new sewer line on Lehigh Station Road. This is near the high school. That section, those people have been on septic systems. And it's not conducive if their septic system fails to put in new septic systems because of the development that has occurred around those houses since those houses first went in. So through some community development block grant funding, we've been putting in sewers. The western end will need a pump station. To put the pump station in, we were able to get one of the landowners willing to sell us a portion of land, as well as associated easements and everything else we need to put in that pump station. And so we're paying, the purchase price is $7,500, and we agreed to cover all closing and associated costs. So that includes utility costs and planting trees to put a vegetative buffer around it. So when it's all said and done, we're very appreciative that, put it this way, if this resident had done that, none of those homes would have been able to get sewer. So very appreciative of Mr. Schuster willing to work with us.
I'm sure his neighbors are very appreciative.
Yeah,
He's willing
yeah,
willing to work. with
exactly.
it. You know, that was a long time project coming.
Yep. So, yeah, this, for those who this is helping, they're very appreciative because again, some of them their systems were starting to fail and there just was no place really because of course, since those went in, the rules for septic have changed. And so there just isn't space for them to put the new compliant septic systems in. They were kind of going to be stuck. But fortunately, again, we were able to get community development block grants through HUD and get this going. So any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say again, for this project, thanks to the town for using those block grants to help these people get on sanitation sewers. A lot of those people wanted to be on, but they couldn't afford to do it on their own. So this helps them. It really knocks the cost down. So it's very, very much appreciated by the neighbors down there. And so thanks to the town for doing that.
And I will note, when we did this, we did create a sewer district, an extension of the sewer district. They will be getting charged essentially that service on the remaining construction costs. But as Rob mentioned, there have been a couple attempts at this in the past, and the annual costs were so high, there was no way they can do it. And part of that is because the south side of the street is the high school. Normally, when I put down a sewer, I have houses on both sides who are contributing towards it. So if you think about it, their cost was essentially double what it otherwise would be because the high school isn't participating. The high school is actually served from the south side of the high school. So all the houses to the north of the high school, they didn't have houses on the south side to essentially help contribute to those costs. So that's why this stalled for years and years until our team a couple of years ago came up with a solution for this. So anyway, any further discussions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
All right. Yeah.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-270/2024 to revoke special use permit number 2020-032 for the construction of a truck parking lot as submitted by Marlwood Partner LLC.
Seconded.
So, for those who are new to this particular one, there was an issue. They were in violation of special use permit. We brought them in, cited them, had hearings about canceling it. We extended the deadline, allowed them to update their special use permit. They never did update their special use permit. And so under that original extension, it gave a deadline of August 31st. We went out and re-inspected. It was still not up to date, so it is being canceled. We have reached out to the operators. You know, we're not trying to shut these folks down, but they need to get compliant with the law. Some of it is confusion on their part. They kept talking about getting approval from the DEC. One of the parcels involved here is a brownfield site. So they absolutely need DEC approval. However, that's separate from zoning approval. They have since, so we had discussions last night and today. They have submitted the letters of intent to apply for 2 new special use permits. And the reason for 2, so basically what had happened is they had a truck operation. And then they started shipping vehicles, and then they started selling those vehicles that they were shipping, which essentially is an auto dealership. That's not allowed. They had unplated vehicles. That's not allowed. So what they did, to have an auto dealership, you have to have a property. I refer to it as Dealership Row. It's the section of West Henrietta Road from Jefferson to Lehigh Station. So they purchased an old building directly in front of this parcel that has frontage to West Henrietta Road, so they will be able to open up a dealership there. But they will have to connect that to this other parcel. And then, so essentially on the back side, the west side of, there's 3 parcels in all. The western parcel and the western half of the middle parcel will be the truck operation. And then the eastern parcel, which has frontage to West Henrietta Road, and the eastern half of the center parcel will be the automobile. But they're going to need new SUPs for those because we're canceling the current one with the truck. We're going to have some discussion with them as far as whether they have to shut down their business or whether we will allow them to operate the business under a fine until such a time as they have a new special use permit. We haven't had a chance to have that discussion with them yet. But again, they will be fined for operating without basically being in violation of their SUP, and now going forward operating without one. But again, our goal here isn't to drive these folks out of business. Our goal here is to get them up and operational legally. Unfortunately, they haven't availed themselves of all the opportunities we've given them. But this latest round does seem to have struck home because they've been much more responsive than in the past. So as I said, this afternoon, we did receive the updated letters. When I told them that they needed to update their site plan, I've already got a response saying that they will get those updated. So if we're going to offer them that they can continue operating, but under a fine, part of that will be, we'll want to see continued progress towards the special use permits. So I will open up for comments.
I want to say thanks to our deputy supervisor for going out with me to that property yesterday out of his busy schedule. And it was a tight day for him and you as a supervisor to go out there and just walk through the property and show me exactly what was going on there. I knew there were some violations. I've been there, but I'd never walked that property inside the fence area. And you know, the owner he was way off base on what he should be doing there. So hopefully this will give him the vision to go ahead and take care of all the violations that are there, you know? And to the supervisor, I commend you for bending over backwards. It's been a long time, and you've given them ample time to get this together. And even at this point, bend over backwards to give them an opportunity to get their SUPs in order and get their business going. So you're to be commended for being so understanding, okay? But sometimes the rubber hits the road, and we do have to have people compliant because other businesses are.
Right. It's not fair to the businesses
That's right.
who do go through the compliance.
Yep.
We'll open up in a moment.
Now, this is a long time coming. It's been 3 years. So I mean, I'm not really sure why they haven't been fined in the past. But I don't know if a fine, you know, depending on the fine itself, I'm not sure what the fine would be, without seeing something. So
That's gonna come out of the building department. We have those in our
okay.
schedule, so.
So I haven't seen what the fines are for operating a business without a permit.
It's actually in town code. Now that I think about it,
I'll have
where
to-
it's listed. Any other, before I open it up? Open it up to the floor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, last time when I was here for the meeting on the June 16, Jennifer, she emailed me about our meeting, and also when we had our meeting on the 27th together, she also emailed me the summary about the meeting and the stuff that I need to submit. And in both her emails, I have a copy with me, which I can also forward it. She included the, even for the suspension of our special permit for trucking, she included that I need a letter from a DEC. And in both cases, she said I needed that I need a letter. DEC is one of the requirement. And I also forwarded emails that I submitted and I sent it to DEC. Unfortunately, I cannot prove my calls, my voicemail since then that I left them. And I literally begged the DEC asking that I need an approval. I said, I have all my paperwork. I also brought all the application, letter of intent, everything that I was going to submit in July. I dated it, signed it, and I was just waiting for DEC to send me approval letter so I can submit it to the town of Indiana. No response. 1.5 months, DEC not responding. Finally, after my last voicemail that I left her September 4th, it was a little aggressive. I said, listen, I'm chasing you for 1.5 months. I needed this letter because, and I also forwarded Jennifer's email to them saying, listen, that's one of my requirements that I need this for parking my trucks. And then she didn't call me back, but she asked the TRC engineers to call me and ask me what's going on. And I told him, I said, listen, I've been trying to get a hold of her for past 1.5 months. She's not responding. And I need this because I need this to be on a meeting for my permit. It's suspended and before it gets revoked. And then as soon on the 6th, she emailed me saying that she's fine as long as there's no digging or anything disturbing the soil.
Oh, she being from the DEC.
Right,
Yeah,
Brianna
okay.
from a DEC.
I thought you meant Jennifer.
Oh, sorry,
No,
no.
okay, yeah.
She said as long as there's no digging, constructing, anything, they're fine. DEC is fine. And as soon as I got that response from her, I forwarded to Jennifer. I said, finally, after more than a month, she responded. And that's why the reason you guys didn't hear from me or didn't submit the application, because in both emails after my the meeting here and after our meeting at the town hall, and in both emails, Jennifer, she responded to me that I need the DEC's letter approval.
I understand, but like a couple things. So at that meeting, and I helped you handwrite what
Right.
the letter of intent and said you need to get those sent in, and we didn't get them. You know, so I will say in the future, if something like this ever happens to you again, or you know someone else going through this, if you're waiting on an external letter, send in your application and say, hey, I've approached the DEC and we haven't gotten this letter. You know, let us know that.
I
And
did.
look,
In July, I can forward that email. In July,
who'd you send that to?
Jennifer, I said, Jennifer, I have everything ready. The only thing I'm waiting for is the DEC's letter. I also forwarded that to Craig when I found out 2 days ago that our permit was revoked. And I say, how? I called the Jennifer and to ask like, hey, Jennifer, here's, I sent you the DEC's email. What else is needed to put us for the meeting? She told me that, well, Craig sent you email that your permit is revoked. I say, when, how? I say, I don't know nothing about it. And I said, can you check, see when he sent that email, what time? When she checked, she noticed, she realized that I wasn't included there. So that's why when he was at the property with Craig, my husband called me, he's like, what's going on? Like, why we keep having people from town visiting us? I said, I don't know, let me find out from Jennifer. And then when I called Jennifer, I found out about that.
So the notice, just to be clear, the notice for the expiration or revocation of the 31st, in that June meeting, we passed a resolution that suspended it and said, if there isn't a new application received prior or that you're in full compliance with the current SUP, that it would be revoked as of August 31st. So that we passed, you were here, I went through the minutes. We had, as I mentioned, something like 60 pages of minutes worth of discussion. So now maybe that got lost on you when we were in it, but we absolutely discussed all that we needed an application by then. So I when you're done, I'm going to ask Craig to come up and address, since you said you had sent that to him, so we can verify that. But like I said, if in the future, submit the application before the deadline and say, here's everything except the letter from the DEC, because they have not responded. You should include your request, that you sent to the DEC, stuff like that, to show that you've at least tried to do that, because we understand some state agencies are less responsive than they should be.
Well, I accept that part. Like I said, when in July, I emailed Jennifer, let her know that I have everything ready, but the DEC's letter. If I've known that I'm still okay to submit everything, even without DEC's letter, I would have done it, because like I said, I had everything sitting here on my desk, even the check for the fee, the difference, everything's dated July, because that's when I had everything ready. But like I said, when I emailed Jennifer, if I've known that I can still submit everything without DEC's approval letter, I would have done it, because I had no issue with that. And regarding us continuing doing parking with the trailers and cars, I received the email from TRC, engineers hired by DEC, that they started drilling at the property since June 25th. And once in a while, they email me, asking me with the pictures, asking me to remove the trucks or trailers or cars. These are one of the copy of the email with the picture that they send me. Like, they constantly ask us to move our truck and trailers because of the drilling, the work. And they're doing on the western side where we're supposed to park our trucks. We have a permit for that. That's where they ask us, they ask me to move our trucks and trailers. So until we to get a permit approval to use eastern side, we were thinking to move everything towards the west where we have a permission. But even at the western side, the TRCs keep asking us to move our trucks or trailers because they have their drills, they have their equipment, they have the even vehicles. Sometimes they just leave it there and they send me picture asking, hey, Mina, we're gonna resume our work tomorrow. Is it okay if we leave our trucks there, our equipment and stuff? And it's all where we're supposed to park our trucks. So we don't have a space now. I mean, they're working there. They're installing, they're drilling, they're installing new wells, I guess. And so, like I told Craig today, I said, I don't know where I'm supposed to move these vehicles or trailers that are parked, by foundation because I don't have a space.
But if the DEC, if we would have had the DEC do the work when you were supposed to, back back in 2020, you wouldn't have to be moving them now, would you?
I'm not sure what you're referring
Well,
to.
I mean, if they're asking them to move them now.
But what they're, it sounds like TRC is drilling additional test wells.
Well,
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know that that's applicable that. In other words, the DEC could do that at any time they want, regardless of what they're doing.
I have one question for Mina. Mina, there are a lot of cars on the property that should have been moved. They're not licensed vehicles. We've asked for that to be, those to be moved. They're still there. There are more cars coming on. Why is that? Why haven't those cars been moved?
Like I said, we were planning until I get approval to park on the eastern side. We were going to move everything towards the west.
Mina, it's been 3 years for a lot of those cars are still there in the same spots.
I know,
So
but
that's not a really appropriate answer
No,
for things that just haven't been done.
since the June last time I was here, since then, when we had this issue, we wanted to resolve that. And now that we want to get the permission to park on the eastern side, now we have this issue that the DC is working, but you're correct, like prior to that, I had no reason, but now I have a
Prior
reason.
to June, nobody did anything about all these cars still sitting there.
Right,
More cars are coming in without being licensed, and the town's trying to work with you guys to do something, but you're not doing your part. That's part of the problem.
Back in 2020, when you got this project approved, you had approved parking for employees' cars.
right.
For the employees who were driving the trucks. So they could leave their car there, come and drop their truck off and then go home. Well, obviously, those cars that we're seeing out on the lot aren't employees' cars because they're sitting there and they're unlicensed. That's one thing. Number two, I would like to know, back in 2020, when you approved that plan, when the plan was approved, and it showed the trucks, it showed the number of truck spots, and it showed the number of cars parking for employees. When did that lot ever look like what your plan was approved for?
I mean,
Ever? I mean, I don't believe it has ever looked like what was approved.
yes,
It's never been in compliance, you're saying.
Right. And so you've never lived up to how you said you were going to operate this business.
and that's why last time when I came in June, that's why we sit together to figure out the solution for this.
But you still don't have a special use permit to make any change, and you haven't even lived up to what you said you would do in 2020.
Yes, but at the same time, I explained to the town, like, what am I supposed to do now with these trucks and trailers and
Well,
cars?
I have an idea. Don't let car haulers into your lot. And that way they won't be able to unload cars in your lot. And that would alleviate a lot of the problem.
Well, if I had a DEC's letter a long time
I'm
sooner.
not talking about the DEC. I'm talking about what was approved and what we were given. And I think when you were here the first time in 2020, you talked about, I think you were hauling for different stores. And you didn't ever mention anything about hauling for a car.
That was a part
car
of our
haulers.
expansion and
And you had a limited number of trucks that you were supposed to have there, which is over the number you're supposed to have at any time anyway. So, I mean, I'm confused why your plan was never even lived up to what you proposed to us.
I admit that and I accept that was a big mistake from our side, that we never thought doing expansion of parking or adding more trucks in our business, that I would have to supposed to come back again and do update with my special use permit. So because of that, our mistake, I'm at meeting and I'm trying to work with the town to do anything, and everything that I was supposed to do to correct our mistake.
I don't know, do we have a map of what originally was proposed available on screen?
I don't know.
Okay, okay.
I know we have some of the, and again, I don't know if that she can quickly find them, but I know we do have a map of what came out of that meeting with town in June. That's the map that, you know, again, shows the three parcels, outlines one of the businesses in red, the other one in blue, shows them tying together. You know, one of the things she, as I informed her, she has to update her site plan. Her site plan didn't show the vehicular gate and pedestrian gate that, or pedestrian is not quite the right term, person gate that connects the West Henrietta Road parcel with that center parcel, because you can't consider that. They wanted to, if you remember, they want to park the new vehicles inside the fenced area. But you can't say that that's part of this business if the only way to get to it is to go out on the road, drive up the street, go out and come back and loop around. It's got to have a direct connect between the two parcels. So she has to show that on her site plan.
But the only cars that were supposed to be parked there were employees' cars that were driving the trucks. Those were the cars that were supposed to be parked on that lot. There weren't supposed to be any other cars there. So.
The other thing that, I don't know if you know it or not, but there's a trailer on the property. I don't think it should be there.
The
It's not a
office
par-
trailer,
I don't think it's a part of your permit. It wasn't a part of it.
the office trailer you mentioned?
Yeah.
Well, the office trailer being on our site plan and that was submitted to,
On the
I
original.
don't think it
site-
was on the original site plan is the issue. We've talked about that. That's going to be part of her new application. But it wasn't, to the council member's point, it wasn't part of the original
right,
approval. So you essentially put it on there without approval is the problem.
Yeah, we're talking about the special use permit that was approved in 2020, not what you're gonna propose to us.
right. Even, well, when there was a suspension of the special use permit for this property, I mean, I never got any emails regarding disapproval of that office trailer, so
No,
seems
it
like you got a
wasn't
lot
an
of
email.
homework.
It was made clear at length at that June meeting that was not allowed. And in order to become compliant, you would have to get a new special use permit.
yes.
And we, rather than immediately revoking your special use permit, we extended it through August 31st to give you time to submit. And we were allowing you to continue operation as long as you submitted the new applications. And the problem is you didn't, and you allowed that time to expire.
Well, like I
And so
said,
now the issue is, in theory, had you been fully compliant with the original SUP, the violation would go away, right? You weren't, nor had you submitted the new special use permits, and therefore, based on that resolution that was passed at that time, your special use permit is now revoked. We're doing this essentially to tie up, because one of the things that happens is when you, in the future, sometime down the road, if somebody says, well, whatever happened to that by having this resolution, it's there. Technically, your special use permit's already revoked. This is really just formalizing that, because again, if you go back to that other resolution, none of the conditions were met. It made clear if none of those conditions were met, the special use permit, what was revoked as of August 31st. The issue is we don't, again, this is largely a formality right now. We went out and re-inspected, we went out and checked. We just want to put this resolution so that it's on the record going forward. You know, so similarly, had you submitted the new applications, we would have put something in there saying we are going to extend the current special use permit until it is officially amended by the two new applications. You know, we would have done the same thing, just to this resolution largely is to just put in the record what happened. But technically your special use permit's already been revoked. What we're trying to do now is get you to be compliant, because again, we're not trying to close you down and but we can't have you operating illegally. So that's kind of where we're at.
I do have another question. Are you supplying power to another location?
No, I
Or,
can,
is another location supplying power to yours?
I'm assuming, so as we understand it, there's extension cords running between,
no, I can submit our Genie bill for the 39 Commerce and for the other.
no. So like, I suspect what's happening, the construction crews who are doing the siding work, are they temporarily drawing power from the other site?
The TRC's construction people or which
Well,
construction
no.
guys?
So your West Henrietta building,
Yes.
you've been removing the siding. There are extension cords running between the two properties. Councilman's question is why?
That was there before even I purchased the West Henrietta, that's why, and it was hanging literally low. We called the RG&E, we asked them, hey, come, do something about it
Hmm.
because it's just hanging from the property. Maybe the RG&E can answer that because we didn't put that, it was there before we purchased the property and it's hanging there. by
It's
the-
not hanging, it's across the parking lot.
Right,
It's
that has
across.
nothing to do with us. Like I said, I can submit a picture of that property, of that cable hanging there even before we purchased that building.
I may be able to submit a picture. Okay.
And it was very unsafe the way it was.
Yeah, that's what we're worried
That's-
about.
that-
Yes,
and
and that's why
very
we called our
unsafe.
RG&E. I say, you gotta come do something about it because it can fall on somebody or can put on fire the whole building. And that's why they came, they fixed that.
Walked past it the other day. Yeah.
You know,
So I mean, it seems like you got a lot of work to do to get compliant to get these applications in.
So-
I would say focus on that. Have your husband start pulling those cards off of there. Do the things that you can do so that you're compliant, so you can get your new SUPs, okay?
We'll do that.
Yep.
You said the DEC still has their equipment there. You had a picture. So that means, no, that's not,
They're still there working.
yeah. So you don't have the letter then from the DEC giving you permission to go forth then, correct?
Yes, I do. They finally responded to me on September 6th.
But do you have a letter?
They usually do by email, so I print the email and also forward it to Jennifer about it because they don't mail letters. They just respond via email.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions, Mr. Supervisor.
I'm just reading the letter from Jenny. I don't see where, okay, since both have.
And again, like I said, if I've known that I don't have to wait for DEC's letter, I would have submitted the application, letter of intent and everything that was required. But like I said, I'm just a public, I don't know exactly how the town of Henrietta, the rules and regulations. So when I emailed Jennifer telling her that I have everything but DEC's letter, if she would have told me that I'm okay, I
So-
can still go ahead, submit everything, I would have done it.
So revised letter of intent. It says you need the revised site plan as well. So I'm reading it right now. It says, I have revised letter of intent, applications, letter of authorization. Need revised site plan and approval letter from DEC. Once I receive information from TRC, we will submit revised site plan to the DEC for their approval. So again, this is where I think you broken down is because you're conflating DEC site plan stuff with the town. They're two separate issues. You got two separate issues here. One is your zoning and your uses require a special use permit. And when you put together a site plan and a special use permit, you have to operate in compliance with that approval you were given. Separately, because it's a brownfield, you have to get DEC approval for some stuff. When I read Jenny's, Miranda's email sent on July 8th, it goes through, says what we need. And including actually for the applications, interestingly enough, it does not list the letters. She just has a note at the bottom. Since both applications are now going to sit on the brownfield, please get us copies of any permits or letters from the DEC indicating your ability to use the property. So what I don't understand is, how are you using the property in the first place if you didn't have approval from the DEC?
As a parking, they always allow me to do it. That's why, because from the beginning.
So why didn't you just send that in, since you already had approval?
Because I thought you guys specifically want for that parcel, and that's why I submitted new site plan, revised site plan, back to Brianna, to
Right.
DEC.
So
to
again,
have her check
that's not what this asks for. What this asks for, and it spells it right out. Again, this is on July 8th. An updated application for truck parking at the vacant parcel on Commerce Drive and 39 Commerce Drive. We needed to also specify the storage bins. A letter of intent that clearly specifies all of the uses on the property, parking and storage. A letter of authorization for Reza to represent the application if he will be submitting the materials and or coming to the meeting. As discussed during the meeting, since this is a significant change and is now going across two parcels, this is no longer a modification, but rather a new one. You submitted a check for 75, so we will need an additional 125 to cover the application fee. It says, we have the site plan, but if any changes are being made to it, please send us an updated version. Then it lists the car dealership application, an updated application to indicate the two parcels, 3699 West Henrietta Road and 39 Commerce Drive. Updated letter of intent to clearly specify what the operations will include and your plans for security, etc. A letter of authorization for Reza to represent the application if he will be submitting the materials and or coming to the meeting, and a site plan showing the areas where cars will be parked, where customers were parked, and the sales office, etc. Note, we have payment for this application. So in neither of those lists is the DEC, and all it says is at the end of it, it says, since both applications are now going to sit on the brownfield, please get us copies of any permits or letters from the DEC indicating your ability to use the property, period. So you presumably already had approval from the DEC to operate. If you didn't, that's a much bigger issue. I'm not clear why you didn't just submit those letters with what we asked for.
Like I said, because I thought everything I need to submit the revised site plan. Again, based on the revised site plan, I need DEC's another approval. So everything kind of like a recent approval from DEC instead of sending DEC's approval that she gave me back in 2020 or 2021. But from our conversation with DEC throughout this so many years, she kept telling me on the phone that as long as we don't disturb the soil,
Right.
I can park, do anything.
So you had that. So again, I just don't understand why you didn't set that. That's what we asked for, is just any copies of any permits or letters you had from the DEC indicating your ability to use the property. That's all we asked for. We didn't ask you to go out and get a new update. We didn't ask you to go, nowhere does it say, go to the DEC and get new approvals. Doesn't say that anywhere.
Well, on a June meeting, after June meeting, she included, Jennifer included that I need to submit most recent letter from a DEC.
Yeah, the most recent. That
I-
means in the past, one that you already have.
I thought maybe it's years ago because it's back in 2020.
If 2021 is the most recent, that's the most recent.
And since we changed the site plan since then, there's a lot of changes, new parking spaces. I thought maybe I need to submit the new site plan showing to DEC, listen, I'm gonna be parking here, vehicles, here, trailers.
Okay,
That's what I thought.
so again, this comes down to I don't know, I can't look at this. I'm reading this email. I can't look at this and say that you were misled. Because again, it spells out crystal clear what you need with the applications. And it basically was just saying, we just need your most recent letter. Any permit or letter that approves you to use the property. And you already had those.
Yes. You
So like I said, I can't see that this delay was caused by us sending you the wrong information. I don't find that. So to me, this sounds like you got confused. And I get it, that happens, which goes back to why we're willing to work something out. But like I said, at this point, your SUP is revoked and either you're gonna have to suspend or stop the use of that, the operation of that business until you get a new SUP in place, or we're gonna have to have a discussion as to whether you could continue to operate but pay a fine. And this would not be the first time that's happened. We had that with not exactly the same thing, but somebody hadn't properly put in a pump station and wanted to have a house move in before it was ready. And we basically, in that case, we find them every single day that that pump station was not operational. So again, from a precedent standpoint, we've done stuff like this before. I'm willing to have that discussion. You've got Tiffany's email.
Stephanie, no, I just have a Jennifer, maybe in those group emails.
Yeah, so
I'll
if
find out.
not, but basically it's my admin. I'll respond with Tiffany's email. You can schedule to get on an appointment. We'll set up a meeting with you, myself, and Kevin Wilson, who's our building director. We'll discuss what that be, and you can make that determination as these guys mentioned. So if it's something that is not going to be part of the new application and it's in violation, you should get it out of there. We'll take a look at that. Otherwise, again, we can take a look at, you can make a decision as to whether you want to shut down your business for a short period until the new one's in place, or whether you want to operate being fined. But again, I can't tell you what those numbers are. I've got to sit down with my director of building and fire prevention and figure out what that would be.
Like, I understand that you want to put an example so people learn.
No,
and-
it's not an example.
No, just to learn, like, from the not listening, with cooperating with the town, they would be a fine or revoke, permit, revoke. But like I said, maybe the first time I misunderstood Jennifer thinking that I can.
The problem is this isn't the first time. This is the fourth or fifth or sixth time. That's the issue. So I get it. If this was the first time we were here, I'd say, sure, we did that. We extended it. We then extended it again, and we extended it again. So it's not a question of making an example. To use a hackneyed expression, you did the crime, you do the time, right? So the fine isn't about making an example. The fine is about you've violated the code. You have a choice. You shut down the operation, in which case you're not violating the code, or you continue to violate the code and you pay a fine. I'm going to leave that up to you. You don't have to make that now, but I can't keep saying, you know what, these other people who've paid their money and filled out all the stuff and made the changes necessary to become compliant with the law, you didn't really have to do that. It's not fair to everybody else who became compliant with the law. That I just, again, this isn't the first time this has happened. It's possible it's all honest mistakes. But if you honestly thought the speed limit was one thing and it's another, and you get pulled over by the police saying, I honestly thought that the speed was higher than it is posted, that doesn't get you out of a speeding ticket. You still committed the violation. You've committed this violation. We've gone over this multiple times. I'm glad to see that you are now working towards it. I am sorry that you didn't reach out and you had the deadline. We told you. I sat down in that meeting. I helped you through all the stuff. I was, to be honest, shocked when I didn't see a letter of intent come in. I would have emailed you, but at that time I didn't have your email. And the deadline came and went, and I still didn't have a letter, and I didn't get it.
Although you're working with them to make this right, Mr. Supervisor, the compliance stuff is all the stuff that hasn't ever been moved or taken care of from the first SUP. So it's an ongoing problem.
Right.
And I commend her for getting where she is now. And I think that she can work out these problems and get compliant, but she's gonna have to work to get all that stuff off that lot too. That's the big issue.
Well, like I said, the stuff that isn't gonna be part of the new SUP, I agree.
But
It doesn't make sense if it's
Yeah.
gonna be in the new SUP, move it off and then bring it back. But it can't be operational
Exactly.
unless, again, we work out something where you're paying a fine to operate improper.
even take the DEC out of it, they're still not compliant.
I understand
Period.
that.
Right, and that's
We
all
understand that.
that was my point
No,
from
I
earlier.
would've-
Let's take DEC out of it. You're still not compliant with what you submitted to us back in 2020.
Right.
Thank you.
No, you're right. That's why, we came up with a solution to submit a new application,
Right.
new permit. And I would have submitted that before the deadline, August, if I've known.
Wait-
Maybe the first time I made a confused
We're-
that I
we're
thought that
rehashing
needed
the same
Yes,
stuff.
but I
Let's not
do
keep
have a question,
rehashing.
and maybe the deputy supervisor can answer. When was the first time we contacted you about this? That you weren't in compliance with what you got approved?
That was years ago.
Years
Years
ago,
ago,
years.
right.
So now we're talking, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, this,
Right.
that,
But look, again,
years. Thank you.
I agree. We're starting to circle and rehash the same stuff. So this is where we're at. Like I said, I'll send you an email. And I'll respond to your most recent email. I'll copy Tiffany in and have her schedule. You can work with her to schedule something, to get on my schedule, to have that meeting, to figure that out. And then you guys can figure out whether you want to temporarily shut down your business or you want to continue to operate while paying a fine.
We'll continue operate and pay the fine because by me shutting down, that means all those employees have to sit home and not feed
Which
their.
is not what we want to do. We're right there with you. We
We-
don't want to see that happen, but we can't allow one business to operate illegally when everybody else is following the rules. I won't say everybody else.
Which
There's
would
a
be
few
our
others.
fault, though.
Right.
That happened.
Right.
I absolutely agree that, I'm not special than anybody else that are following the rules and regulation. But in my case, that what's making it a little hard to me keep trying to, correct my mistake is that DEC is involved. So everything I have to do
Yep.
with the DEC, I'm not talking about the years ago that we
I
did. it
understand, but
mistakes.
again, we've been over this multiple times, so
Right.
I'm gonna cut you short here. I understand that. It's unfortunate how it transpired. But to be blunt, it's a little late to not, again, technically, your SUP is already revoked.
Hmm.
That's already happened. Okay, so I'm sending you the email right now. And we'll move forward from here. And like I said, we'll work to get you back up and operational, but you gotta work hard and get that done and get compliant. And we'll go from there.
Who's gonna contact RG&E to see if it's one of their wires or RG&E's wires down? Well, if it's from the pole to the building
I
anyway.
just saw Craig raise his hand. He might have been doing a shrug, but I'm gonna count it as a
Right.
raise his hand.
But it's, either way, if it's from the pole to the building, it is considered the property owners.
We'll figure that out.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mina.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Does anybody from the public wish to offer any input, feedback? Then hearing no further comment, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-271, 2024 to establish extension number 14 for the Rivers Edge subdivision located on the south side of Lehigh Station Road to the Henrietta Consolidated Lighting District.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-272, 2024 to establish extension number 25 for the River Edge subdivision located on the south side of Lehigh Station Road to the Henrietta Consolidated Drainage District.
Second.
Any discussion? You had the public hearing, I assume none.
Right.
Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Fellow board members, I resolution 18-273, 2024 to renew the special attention detail program with Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
Second. So a couple things this resolution does. The original, when we first put this in place, was October of last year. However, it took the county legal department time to approve it. Between getting through the county legal department and approved by the county legislature. However, last October, the Monroe County Sheriff essentially put somebody on the detail. Essentially, they were just paying for it. Our payments didn't kick in until after the intermunicipal agreement was signed, which was in February. However, they kept the original date running through October, which I didn't quite understand why. So we're just extending that IMA agreement through December 31st. It will have to go up to the county executive's office, and he's going to have to agree to it as well before that extension actually happens. But we're agreeing to extend it to the 31st. So that way it's tied to our calendar year. We do have enough money in the budget for that. We had allocated essentially a full year's amount, and so far it's only been being paid since February. And then the second thing we basically say is that it essentially we will move forward for next year. So that way we know to put this in the budget for next year as well. I will note that we'll have to come back and approve the new dollar amount because they haven't completed the budgeting, but what this is basically saying is to the sheriff's department, go and do the calculations, put all of the work in because we're planning to do this. Now, obviously, if they come back, I'm going to exaggerate.
Right.
If they're going to give the deputy a 50% raise, we're going to say, no, take a hike. But, we do expect there to be a raise. And for those who aren't familiar with the way this works, we wanted to put a town constable. We wanted them to be able to deal with speeders in the residential neighborhoods. The problem is one of the more dangerous things you can do as a police officer is pull someone over in a car because you don't know who that person speeding is. Maybe they just committed a violent crime. And so we were not comfortable having a constable who was doing traffic stops unarmed and without that training. We don't have the ability to do all that gun training. And that's when we came up with the idea of special attention detail. We would have a Monroe County sheriffs who they are fully trained. They do have all of that stuff in place to educate them, to train them, to make them as safe as possible and to properly respond to these incidents. And so what the idea is, we would add a new deputy to the Monroe County Sheriff B zone where we would cover that cost. And this would be in addition to and not replacing one of their existing sheriff deputies. It's worked rather well in terms of accomplishing those things. Has it stopped all of the speeding in residential neighborhoods? Well, of course not. Unfortunately, drivers have gotten worse and worse over the years, more impatient and more distracted.
More distracted is right.
But with that said, there have been, I think it was something like 140 citations or warnings. And, there have been a lot of other stuff done in terms of other locations. included one of the other things is we've done with the special attention detail, we've also been doing community outreach, school outreach, working on improved school safety. One big place they spend a lot of times is at our crosswalks in the morning and afternoons, because unfortunately drivers have been driving through the crosswalks even when our crossing guard is out there telling them to stop, because kids, and sadly, in a couple instances, when kids were in the crosswalks, people were still driving through the crosswalks. So these are places where we've had these folks focus. And so I've been happy with the progress we've been making, and we'd like to go another year and see if we can continue to make additional progress. So that's what this is doing. Any other questions, comments on that?
No, sir, it seems to be working out fine.
And hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have to get back to my. Where'd it go? There it is.
You're a multitasker.
I am, because I've been sending the other stuff in
Right.
via email. No, that was the one Rick read. Joe,
I've got it here.
18274. No, I'm getting there.
Hmm?
273, 274. Got it.
Got it.
Oh, board members of resolution 18-274, 2024, to authorize a tax certiorari settlement for 95 Linden LLC, 3111 Winton Road South.
Second.
Was I given this one because I can pronounce certiorari?
Sure, Harry.
We'll find out in a minute.
Makes sense to me.
I got one too.
So basically, one of the things, a certiorari action, if you don't know, it's a legal action from a corporation taking us to court over assessment. One of the things our assessor has done a good job of is settling these going forward, not backwards. Because if you adjust their assessment going backwards, then the town, the school, the county, the ambulance, the fire district, all has to refund monies, which is a financial hardship for them. So it's much easier to adjust it going forward than to adjust it going backwards. So I thank her for her efforts in bringing these folks around and getting to a compromise that protects all of the other organizations for whom we collect taxes for. So, any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I have resolution number 18-275-2024 to authorize a tax certiorari settlement with Town Line Associates LLC for 3055 Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road.
Seconded.
And by the way, the reason I mentioned certiorari, if you've seen the way the word is spelled, it does not sound like it is spelled. Any further, same comments as the last one? Any other additions? Then hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-276, 2024, to appoint Simra Hamad as a student member to the Youth Development Advisory Committee.
Second.
Any comments? I'd just like to thank Simra for her willingness to serve on the board, and like to thank the board for all the work they do on behalf of our youth. Hearing and seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-277, 2024 to declare items surplus materials from the Recreation Department.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have the last resolution, 18-278.
Another page.
I don't want another page. Let me look and see if it's my last resolution. Dang, it's not.
Not even close.
Resolution 18-278, 2024 to declare the item surplus materials from the senior center.
Second. So I will note that if anybody wants a 1986 upholstered couch that's been well loved, feel free to contact us. Otherwise, it's going to go in the trash.
Oh, yeah,
Uh, As you can see, we make good long use of things, so. Any further comments, questions? And if you are seriously interested or know of a place that could use one, you can email me at supervisor@henrietta.org. But hearing and seeing no further comment, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-279, 2024. Whereas the Summit Federal Credit Union has donated $1,000 to the town of Henrietta Parks and Recreation Department for exclusive sponsorship of the Holiday Lights and Magic event being held on December 7th, 2024. Whereas a check in the amount of $1,000 was received by the finance director. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks the Summit Federal Credit Union for their generosity.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-280-2024. Whereas the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated has donated $1,150 to the Henrietta Public Library for adults events and a volunteer recognition event. And whereas a check in the amount of $1,150 was received by the library director, therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks Henrietta Public Library, Friends and Foundation Incorporated for their generosity.
Seconded.
Comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-281, 2024. Whereas Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated has donated $1,400 to the Henrietta Public Library for cricket makers and supplies, and whereas a check in the amount of $1,400 was received by the library director, therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated for their generosity.
Second.
So I'd like to thank for all three of these. Thank both the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation and the Summit Federal Credit Union. It's through donations like this that help us do additional events as well as to keep our programming budgets down and therefore keep our tax rates low. So again, thank you to those willing to donate towards town programming and essentially to the town, period. Any other comments?
Every little bit helps.
Yep. Hearing and seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-282, 2024. To accept a proposal from Fred Beebe for scraping and painting of all walls and ceiling in the Good Shepherd building.
Second.
So, I will note, we went out for a number of vendors. We got two who were able to meet the timeline, although one of those two then later realized they couldn't meet the timeline. We're trying to get the painting done and the renovations and it all done prior to our scheduled ribbon cutting on the Betty Miller Performing Arts Center. So for those who don't know the old Good Shepherd Church, it's located on East Henrietta Road, just south of where the new entrance to the high school is located. We've turned the altar into a stage. We've removed all the religious iconography. We've added restrooms because there were no restrooms, including no ADA accessible restrooms. That has now changed. We've put in an ADA ramp. We're putting in new flooring, new ceiling. In addition to then being a performing arts center, this will also be available for rent like a cabin, although I suspect it will be significantly higher rent because it's significantly larger space. It will also be available to some community groups. So for instance, if the American Legion wanted to hold a regional Legion meeting and they needed a bigger space than their Legion Hall, they'd be able to hold it there as well. So it's going to give us good capability. Our town crews have been putting in a lot of time on it. And I can't wait till it's done. Every time I go over there, it takes another step forward. I'll be clear, it won't be done by the end of September, but it will be mostly done. Now I'm starting to sound like Princess Bride. I'm getting very excited for when this it opens up and is ready for use. We will then do some additional work on the two back rooms. We're going to add a third restroom in the one side, and then the other side will be a small kitchenette area similar to what you have in a cabin. So that again, if somebody's having a small event there, it's a place where they could either do some small amount of food preparation or catering. If they had a catered event where catering could come in and set up. So I think it's going to be a really nice facility. And can't wait till it's operational. And we bought the building for 50 cents from the school district.
I was just about to ask you how much it costs. What a great deal.
Yeah. The renovations have been a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But again, we've been keeping the cost down by our
Everything.
crews doing most of the work. So they've been doing a great job. It's just if you look at the amount of painting, there's no way our crews could possibly get that done in time. So we went outside. Any other questions, comments? And hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley.
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
All right. Fellow board members, I have resolution. Let's call the right one. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-284, 2024.
I think you skipped one.
You trying to skip me? Hold
Oh,
on,
I
but-
did. That's why I said it was Rob.
Rob, I thought you said you were done for the night.
Yeah, that's right.
But
Rob
it
did
didn't
say it
work
was
out.
done. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry about that. I
Fellow
put-
board members
put the
and
check mark.
Supervisor Schultz, I have resolution 18-283, 2024 to call for a public hearing on a local law to update the town code to allow the recovery of administrative costs incurred when the town must do property cleanup.
Second. So there's a lot of cost involved in doing the property cleanup in addition to the external fees, expenses, I should say, not fees. And so we're trying to recover that. As I said earlier today, there's a cost to operating code enforcement. I would rather see that cost be borne by the people who are in violation of town code rather than the people who are in compliance, i.e. the whole rest of us. So we do that a lot with our building department. So, the fire marshals are covered by the people who need to do the fire inspections and such. The building inspectors are covered by the people who need to do the building inspectors. So, the hard costs associated with doing these junk removals, the administrative fees that this proposes to collect those from those who commit the violations. This is different than a fine. A fine is punitive. A fee essentially recovers costs. So, any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Now, fellow board members, I have resolution 18-284, 2024 to call for a public hearing on a local law to update town code to add a waterfront revitalization incentive zone under Article 9B of Chapter 295.
Second.
So I think my first year in office, maybe second year, we applied for a grant to put together a local waterfront revitalization plan. To have one of those to basically participate or get funds through the local waterfront revitalization program, you have to have a plan in place. I never expected it to be a 4-year process. I greatly underestimated the bureaucratic capabilities of the Department of State for New York State. We're on the final stretch and they basically said, well, we want to have all the necessary code in place to implement. Some of it was, in my opinion, putting the cart before the horse until I realized, we could do it through incentive zoning. So we already, in 2021, we had put incentive zoning in place. And so what we're creating now is similar to what we did with the commercial revitalization incentive zone, which the idea there, that was trying to get people to invest in revitalize older developments. So when we had these, one of the things is a lot of times it's cheaper to build on empty ground than it is to reuse an existing building. But of course, it's better for the community if people reuse these empty buildings instead of breaking ground on what's currently empty ground. So that's the idea of incentive zoning. In this case, we're looking at, can we get better public access to the waterfront, which is the river and the canal? Can we get people to do cleanup of water quality, some improvements for water quality or shoreline stabilization? Can we induce private spending to add some waterfront amenities? So that's the whole idea of this waterfront revitalization incentive zone. I spoke had a long meeting with the Department of State today. This will fulfill those final requirements. So hopefully soon we'll have, and soon's a relative term, we'll have an approved LWRP plan and can start going after grant opportunities to make some of these things a reality. So one of those includes building a Riverwalk trail essentially from Ballantyne Bridge all the way down to the border of Rush and beyond, because we actually did this LWRP plan in cooperation with the town of Rush, so that Riverwalk Trail can then continue all the way south to the Lehigh Valley Diamond Trail, south of 251. So that would give it interconnects to the Greenway Trail as well as the Lehigh Valley Trail. It would be a great trail system. We're really excited about getting that. In fact, we've already implemented some portions of it where we could do it, either us doing it as part of another project or encouraging developers to do it as part of their project. So very excited about this. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-285, 2024, to make appropriate budget transfers and adjustments to the 2024 adopted budget.
Seconded.
Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-286, 2024, to hire personnel and make the attached changes.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-287, 2024, to adopt local law number 6 of 2024 to amend a tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance personnel.
Second.
Any discussion beyond what we already didn't discuss at the public hearing?
I do have one question.
What's
I do
that?
have is for this exemption, do they have to be part of the Henrietta Volunteer Fire District or just, okay, because I don't see, I didn't.
So that's in the law. Gets
And-
into-
And they have to be with CHS? That's probably the really question.
They have to be, so they have to be, as I understand it, they have to be residents of Henrietta and they have to be active members in a volunteer. I don't know that it's whatever the law states as to whether they have to be in the town that they're residents or whether it's, in other words, could somebody who is a volunteer in, I don't know where other
Bushnell
towns.
Basin, I can tell you one, I knew somebody at Bushnell Basin.
Right, so if they're a volunteer in the Bushnells Basin, whether they, it's distinctly possible that they are eligible. I don't know, again, it's a New York State law. So it's whatever way that law works. But
There's some longevity involved in it as well for a certain minimum.
yeah, so there's two different things. One is, there's one that is for people who are currently volunteers. And as, you know, you get it as long as you're currently a volunteer. Once you have hit the 20-year mark, that becomes permanent. And one of the other things that some of the changes that occurred now is, there's rights of survivorship. So if a spouse, survives, the volunteer, they continue to get that lifelong, exemption as long as they don't remarry.
Right, I was just curious about.
Yeah, I don't know that
about where
answer.
they, but that's, okay.
I don't know if,
Doesn't matter.
Amy, our assessor, knows that answer.
It won't make any difference in my.
Steve, Amy, sorry.
Go ahead, Amy.
Steve, Amy had to log off for
Oh.
the other meeting.
Oh, that's right. She had to be on, yep. Okay, so she had,
It's,
yeah, so I'll find that answer out and let you know.
Okay.
Like I said, my recollection is you did not have to be in the town, but it had to be a New York State. But again, that's just my recollection, and that was from the original laws from a couple years ago. I don't know about the updated law.
just happened to think about that one. I
Yeah.
was reading the resolution.
Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution 18-288, 2024, to adopt local law number 7 of 2024 to amend the town code with respect to alternative veteran property tax exemptions.
Second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, and especially Rob, I have the final resolution, 18-289, 2024, to adopt local law number 8 of 2024 to amend the town code with respect to Cold War veteran property tax exemption.
Second.
Any discussion?
Congratulations.
Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Do we have any committee or miscellaneous reports from the board?
Yeah, I got a chance to attend the youth board meeting on Monday nights. Thank you everyone for saying yes to accepting Simmer as one of our members. Very, very impressive. And I think it really speaks to just the passion that the people on that committee have for service. Since I've been the liaison for almost 3 years now, I've seen just a tremendous amount of quality in the candidates that we've gotten, both in the youth and also in the adult ranks. A lot of the stuff that they are working on is kind of long-range planning right now, headed out to October, November, things like the Halloween party at Tinker and Make a Difference Day. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to it. And just wanted to give a snapshot of what's going on at the library. To say that there is something going on at the library all the time is an understatement. There are the daily baby and all ages story times, Monday through Friday. There are teen and tween programs on Saturday afternoons. There's writing an art workshop featuring New York State's Youth Poet Laureate coming up this Saturday. Friends and Family Game Day the following Saturday, the 21st. Tremendous number of adult programs also. Every other Tuesday, there is a book club for adults. They're currently reading The Only Plane in the Sky by Garrett Graff. That's an oral history of 9/11. There are craft activities every Wednesday night. They fill up incredibly fast. And there also are some programs right now. There's a legal clinic for deaf and hard of hearing residents. Monday, the 23rd at 1 p.m. Internet security, privacy, and safety on the 24th at 10 a.m. And there's an author talk on the 27th, Sydney Morrison and her book, Frederick Douglass, a Novel. So for that and much more, please consult hpl.org.
Yep, I represented the town at the annual butterfly release at Ascension Gardens last weekend, which is in honor of all first responders who have passed, including local, regional, and especially for the 9/11 victims. I attended the CHS board meeting last night, regular meeting. You can see the new garage is coming along quickly. And CHS is becoming the lead agency for University of Rochester, especially with the transport of patients from hospital to home. And the distances seem to be growing, but they're very busy with that. Financially, they're doing really well, and it's quite a well-run organization.
Great. Anyone else? No. I'll just note that town newsletters have finally gone out. They took at least 2 weeks longer from press than I was expecting. They were supposed to be out end of August. But they are finally out. And so keep an eye out for them. If you don't have one, let me know or stop in because we do have some extra ones. But again, give it a day or two to arrive. And then we'll also have the electronic version up on the website in the not too distant future. All right. Additional discussion items or comments from the public? Yep. I'm waiting more than patiently.
Good evening, good night, I should say.
Yeah.
I'm a little hot on the subject, so please excuse my
Yep.
attitude. So I'll start with a little history.
Lynn?
When the
Speaking
changes
to the
of-
mic.
Pull the mic closer to you.
I can step back.
No, we
No,
need your name and address.
right,
It's all
that's it.
transcribed, everything, yeah.
A little history. when the town decided to get in the energy business, I spoke with you, Mr. Schultz, and strongly urged against it, telling you it was a full-time job getting the best price for the people. You mentioned clean energy, and I told you that should be a personal choice. At the board meeting where it passed, I specifically remember a board member asking if the people had to join. At that time, you said people would have to join, so the board voted it in. Now, according to a letter I received, new people in Henrietta and others are automatically going to be put into the program. They must opt out. Well, some people see an energy company and think it's just another ad, and they want them to switch, so they ignore the letter. Also, the original board vote was to have people opt in. So now you have to vote no. You are deciding for them, and most people will do nothing and get put in. In my experience as an ESCO person, most people cannot even tell you what they are paying per kilowatt hour. You, sir, have no right to make decisions for anyone, especially me. First, Henrietta's land along the river is being reused, and there are new things now where efficient energy could be produced with a simple river flow with absolutely no waste produced. Second, you are talking about solar power. Both solar and wind are destructive to the environment. I do not believe in them. Alternate ways to produce energy are available and have been for years, like anti-gravity or perpetual motion with absolutely no waste. But the government stopped this like Tesla's work. As long as the government gets involved, there will be no progress. A free market does work. You are perpetuating the problem. Last, if you are a good steward of the people of Henrietta, you should at least know the price to compare. Do you?
I do.
What is it?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but we looked at this. So a couple of things. There's a number of false statements
Well,
in
let
your,
me
okay,
finish.
well, you asked, but okay.
As of last week, RG&E was 0.7 cents per kilowatt hour. Constellation Energy is 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So people are paying more at a time when things are tight for a lot of people in Henrietta. In fact, I would suggest governments stay out of most of the markets. Most people can decide for themselves. We are not just ignorant.
Okay, so a couple things. The perpetual understanding the laws of physics, you can't get energy for nothing. So that's not a true statement. I won't go into solar or wind. I'll only just say that if you notice, there's not any wind farms in Henrietta. In terms of, we're not in the energy business. So basically what comes up as far as the way this program works, and I'll be honest, and I think I speak for all of us, that we've been disappointed in the way the state implemented the program. It's called community choice aggregation. And basically what it says is for anyone who has not made a decision, and this is why you were not in it originally, because you had made a decision, you had chosen your ESCO. And so therefore you automatically were opted out of the program. Don't shake your head. You weren't.
No, I have been for more than a year back with RG&E, almost 2 years.
I understand, but my point is, when we implemented this 3 years ago or however, whenever it was, were you part of the program?
No.
Did you have to opt out of the program?
No,
No, because you had made a choice. And so then basically one of the things that was not made clear to us as part of the state program is that when people then their ESCO came up, that they would then be sent a letter. That was news to us. If we don't plan to renew this, because again, we were not fully informed by the state as to how the program would work. We were also disappointed that we weren't able to, originally, we wanted it to be that, so the price you were talking about, the 0.9, is not the energy, has to do with it's the clean energy. We had a problem, the fact that you couldn't make the regular energy the default. That was not explained to us when we first went into this program. So that was, again, a change that happened to us. So we are not happy with this program either. The reason we started this whole thing, and we had a huge campaign when this first went out to encourage people to opt out. The reason we went into it is 2 years earlier, we had a harsh winter. And at the time, the utility prices skyrocketed, and a whole bunch of individuals, especially seniors, came to us and said, is there any way you can put a cap on those prices? And so that's what we saw this program as a means for those people who were interested in doing green energy. And the problem is, at that time, there were a lot of less than reputable individuals working the business. That's one of the problems with free market. In addition, so the idea is anyone who wanted the green energy, our thought is, oh, you could opt in and get green energy. But the other thing it would do is, because it's a fixed rate, it is typically higher than the variable rate at a time when the variable rates are low. But if the variable rates rise, at that point, at any time, now it occurs at the end of a billing cycle, but any time someone could have opted in. So let's say that 0.7 cents jumps up to 10 cents. They could have opted in. Their rates would have been capped at 0.9 or whatever the rate was for conventional energy. And then when the variable rates dropped back down, they could have opted back out. So it was a way to put in the cap. The issue we had was there wasn't a good way. And again, this was not explained to us. We believed that there was a good way for those. We knew that the way it had to happen was you had to opt, because again, it's the default. If you had never chosen before, you were automatically enrolled unless you opted out. The issue is, what wasn't explained to us was that you didn't come in at the nearly comparable, that you came in at the green energy, which is, as you pointed out, a significant more. So again, we're not happy with it either, but it's a multi-year contract, so it rides out. I think it has 1 year left. I can't speak for the rest of the board. I have no intentions of renewing it because of the problems with the implementation. If they'd have implemented this properly, it could have been a good system, because again, by negotiating a fixed rate, it would have provided that cap if prices go through the ceiling. Now, with that said, the last 2 years, we've had mild winters, and so it has never gone above the cap. One of the things that we had is people could sign up for an email blast that we would send out if the variable rate ever got above the fixed rate. It hasn't happened yet. But again, that was just so that, if we had a harsh winter and utility rates, electrical rates went through the ceiling, seniors could switch over to the fixed rate and cap it. That was the intention. And again, if you're negotiating as a person of one, right, and if you're a fan of free market, you understand this, a person of one has a lot less buying power than a collective of 30,000, well, that's people. It's really more like 10,000 homes or 7. I don't remember what the actual number. It's about 70% of the people have never made a choice of ESCO.
Which is one reason I said, this is a volatile business. I was in it long enough.
Oh, absolutely.
My CEO sold the business, but all of us kept our same customers and everything. He did a wonderful job for the people working for him. He sold it to 6 men, and they could not buy the energy from NRG in Texas that one man could.
Right.
And when he left, the prices went up and I left the business, but that was Rob Snyder, if you ever look him up.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah. So like I said, we don't disagree with some of your dissatisfaction of the program. Unfortunately, we're locked in.
Can people still opt out?
Oh, absolutely. And
I suggest everybody do it.
well, most people already have. It was only a handful. And again, I reached out to find out why you were on that list, because you weren't a new customer, and they informed me it's because in the past year, you are no longer on an ESCO. Now, my thing is, if you've opted to go back to RG&E, I don't understand why that I have a problem that that's considered a new customer, because you're not a new customer and you made a choice. You opted to go to RG&E. That's, if you wanted to go to this brand, when you chose your ESCO, you would have chosen this ESCO.
To be honest, if you look at the choice to choose, which every once in a while I do go back and look.
Yep.
Constellation Energy does have some good programs. for
Right.
me, But clean energy is never gonna be one of them for people. And the.
Well, for people who want to, that's their choice. I agree.
But there are other companies
I-
that are providing. it
again,
cheaper, so.
I immediately intervened and reached out to RG&E and said, why is this person on it? And then reached out to the folks who run this for us, Jewel, and said, hey, this person shouldn't have been on there. They explained under New York State rules, you are. Well, that is dumb to me because again, it's supposed to be for people who didn't make a choice. You made a choice. So I don't understand why you were included in the sweep. It's one thing if you were a brand new customer, right? I built a brand new house. I've never made a choice before. And you came in and you didn't make a choice. Sure. Now you should get the letter. That's not the case for you. Yeah.
Second point, to opt into something is a choice. To be told, I'm gonna put you in the pool.
Well, just to be clear,
No, you don't wanna go in.
just to be clear, if you don't make a choice, RG&E makes that choice for you.
You're RG&E, period.
I apologize. Would I be able to get you closer to the microphone?
You need to move, yeah, closer to the mic. A little bit, So basically what the point is, again, if someone doesn't make a choice, now again, this is why to me it's different. You chose RG&E. But if somebody doesn't indicate an ESCO, by default, the utility company picks that ESCO for you. That's the RG&E variable rate. So ultimately someone is making the choice for you if you don't make the choice. Not everybody is as knowledgeable about ESCOs as you. When they made the change and brought ESCOs in, most people didn't know what the heck it was for. And again, unfortunately, there are a number of disreputable companies who took advantage of people not understanding and changed them without their permission. And so I get where you're, having worked for an ESCO, are especially sensitive to that. And again, I agree with you. If I were creating this program, it would be opt-in. It would not pick up people who made a choice. Again, please move closer to the microphone. Thank you.
When I jump on New York State's case, and I don't know if the rules have changed, I had to be face to face with someone. I
Right.
couldn't do it over the phone. I just couldn't do it with a letter. I had to have my badge and they had to be able to recognize me. So they had someone to go to or talk to. This is like a blanket thing. And I will say your secretary reached out to me, and Constellation called me.
For the Constellation, or was it Jewel?
Constellation
Okay.
called me and said, if you need help, I will give you a number. And I said to them, I'm not jumping through hoops for you. I'm going to the town board meeting and
Right.
let them know just how I feel about
Yep.
it in the company. So
Okay.
that's what I've done.
Yep. So again, sorry it happened. I don't agree with the state. You should not have been included in the list of people who
And I
got
don't
that letter.
agree Anybody should be included
Well,
unless they.
that's a
opt in.
difference of opinion, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, would I be able to get that speaker's name?
Lynn Nuss.
Lynn
Thank-
Nuss.
Thank you very much.
She's spoken with Tiffany, and Mr. Page knows her too, so thank you. Anyone else?
Nobody's ever been online. Nothing wrong with the thing.
There were people online, but
There were.
no one, yeah, there were the three folks for the one special use permit. Plus, you heard Linda and a couple others, so anyway, so I guess,
Mr. Supervisor.
I guess I'm just not used to having someone not arguing with us till the bitter end here. Not referring to you, I'm talking about a particular resident who often ends up in a shouting match at these meetings. I figured. So, no, you, believe me, we'll take you did a phenomenal job presenting it. Or something you were angry, so.
Something you
Yep.
don't disagree with.
With that said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a
So
motion.
moved.
Beat me again.
So we'll give Mike the second.
Give Mike everything.
Second.
Hearing